Son, where'd you find this?
Don't be offended by the truth. They be offended because you called out the truth. Simple as that. They don't want to hear any other narrative that makes them look bad.
One thing I can't stand at this big grown age is somebody who acts like cause and effect does not exist. Like, yes, your actions caused this outcome. Yes, what you did lit the match. Like, why are you surprised and playing victim?
Guys, Chico, they never lie.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late, they cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close I hide, my ancestors speak. They tell me the tide isn't front on us like we're weak. I haven't been getting sleep. Longing to sing until I surpass peak. Until they think we are equal, please. All I want is peace. My ancestors beat drums until their bones would bleed. Begging the generations remember our.
Good morning, grand risings, peace, blessings, glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. Happy Hump Day. I hope all is well with each and every single person in the building. I want to give a thank you to my poets, writers, content creators, my creatives in general. I'm always going to shout y'all out, get used to it. So you see the title. I got a clip for y'all. I got Nat in the building. I'm going to bring him up. We're going to have a little conversation. Do me a solid, like, share, repost. Let the people know that we are on. Let's see here. Good morning, grand rising, all that good stuff. What's up, man?
Hey, it's great to see you. I just took some time to watch this video, and it's mind-blowing, right? How people can get triggered over, basically, in essence, I see it as disinformation, frankly, and it's it's kind of worrying, right? Because there's no research, there's no discourse, there's no anything. People just jump on a story and they say, I ain't eating that. And it's like, hold on a minute. Like, do you know how it works? So I was like, hold on. I don't know how it works. So I went and I did a bit of research, just some bare bones research, right? And it's interesting. It's interesting, to say the least.
And that's why I brought this up. That's why I bring a lot of this stuff up, so we can kind of just peel the layers back a little bit, man, because social media can be a good thing and a bad thing, all depending on the handler. So this is one of them subjects that I've seen floating around. I've spoken on it before, but I figured you might be able to give a different perspective on this For those of you who didn't get a chance to see this clip, I'm going to bring it up on the big screen and we're going to talk about it. Make sure it's all right.
It's getting real. They don't have to tell us what they're doing to our meats no more. Now they're saying that they can put mRNA vaccination shot in our meats now. You know what that means, man. Population control is getting serious, man. You don't believe me? Roll the clip.
Lobbyists for the cattlemen and pork associations in several states have confirmed that they will be using the mRNA Covid vaccines on their livestock. Attorney Tom Renz has been warning that there is no law requiring anyone to give informed consent for vaccine food. There are no laws requiring anyone to tell you the food you are buying has been vaxxed with the spike protein clot shot. The UK recently passed into law the Genetic Technology Precision Breeding Bill. The bill amends the Environmental Protection Act of 1990 to exclude references to precision-bred organisms so far as they relate to marketing. Precision-bred organism is another term for gene-edited. So now in the UK, food that's been gene-edited can be legally marketed as non-GMO. And if this UK gene-edited meat makes its way to America, it can be labeled.
It's getting real. They don't have to tell us.
It's not the first time I've seen a clip like this. Actually, I've done at least 5 to 6 different videos kind of connected to this, but not directly connected to the mRNA vaccine. Other stories that I've covered, they were more or less speaking on just food being tampered with in general, that is not getting your bang for your buck. What you're actually getting is something that's been genetically altered, based off of the stories, the clips. What's your thoughts on it? You're on mute.
Sorry, buddy, I muted myself. So a lot of these people are smoking really strong marijuana, and that marijuana, right, is chemically designed. Yeah. So it's like, oh, okay. On one hand, I'm going to get this really strong skunk and I'm going to smoke it and I'm going to get high, right? And oh no, we can't have genetically modified food. And it's like, hold on a minute. You're smoking something that is 70 times stronger because it's genetically modified, right? I'm not talking about you. And I don't have a problem with people smoking marijuana. That's their business. But what I have a problem with is them not understanding the propaganda that they're spreading or they're getting triggered with. And what's interesting about these new mRNA vaccines is that actually you will be able to heal your dogs, cats, and people will be having humans will be able to have personalized medicines, right? So what that means is that you, as say you've got a dog, it's sick, okay, initially, this is what's happening at the moment. You can basically use a language model. So you can go and use a language model to crunch some data, and then you can basically, your vet can actually create a personalized vaccine that will assist your dog in killing or restricting the growth of the cancer cells, so then it may live longer. It doesn't affect the DNA. And I think that actually I see it from quite a positive standpoint. I don't want to dig into the whole COVID thing. It's way too emotional for me to give my opinion on it. However, I will say one thing. I had long COVID, which was really nasty. And I had 2 jabs, and I regret having jabs. I should never have had jabs. But that's my own personal opinion, just based upon what I felt like after having them. So I don't know, man. It's the school's out really on this one.
I wish that when you post these things on places like Facebook and Twitter, people were more detailed with their research, because it's not necessarily all right. Well, let me rewind. I'm not walking around with degrees on my wall saying that I'm specializing in this, that, and the third. When I talk about stuff, I'm just shedding light on something that maybe people need to have awareness of. And then, based off of what I'm bringing, you can then, with your own hands and feet and eyes and ears, you can go and decipher for yourself and determine, well, is this real? Or is this something that was created out of thin air for other reasons? That's my purpose. I got the shot. I wish I didn't. I really wish I didn't. But that's my personal preference. To really understand or know how far this goes, we would have to dig and dig ourselves to find out if this is really something that is criminally being architect or something else. My own personal opinion is going to always vary from someone else's, but that's why we have spaces like this. So I had COVID before. I had it twice, which I thought was ironic, because why the hell did I need to take the shot for if I was still going to get it anyway? I never agreed with the shot. I always felt like the whole situation was manufactured. But, that's just my take. As far as them putting it in food, there was an article that I read last year, and I can't remember verbatim what it was, but they did talk about this same thing right here. So it's like, all right, this is my second time seeing it. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing or not. I'm gonna leave it right there. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. But I do have my red flags.
Yeah. I mean, look, the way I look at it from many different dimensions, right? Because we've got sort of food supply chain that we're in essence tinkering with here, aren't we? Right. And that's something that is serious. Yeah. Because if we run out of food, we've got major issues. The problem is that we've got these huge farms. And actually, the food is just such a huge topic, right? Like we're at a point now where there's a lot more information about food, but actually the poorest people are the ones that are generally suffering, and they're the ones that can't really afford to actually, well, I'm not going to say they can't afford to eat well. They can afford to eat well if they know what to buy, right? And it's a really difficult situation here, really difficult. And, whilst I'm not pro-vaccine, I'm not hardcore anti-vaccine myself, but I am pro personal research. Like, I have a friend, he may end up watching this. His child does not have any vaccines, right? She's healthy as you like. Okay. And that's his decision. Him and his wife, they made a decision, and that's it, right? But like, look, what about your dog? What about your dog, right? Your dog is getting cancer. Your dog has cancer, right? And you're like, okay, I'm gonna get a tailor-made injection for my dog, and or for my cows, right? You know, specifically designed by the vet for my 1,600 cows that are on my farm, right? And those cows will potentially recover, right? But I'm not keen on drinking the milk from these cows until the mRNA vaccine has come out of the cows, and there is a certain time frame that is involved with that, as far as the research that I've done. But look, I'm not a scientist, right? And I'm not a veterinarian, so what can I say, Creed? It's I'm just here on the side of the rational thinker, right? I want people to actually make their own decisions. I want people to sit back and ignore the trigger that is going on in their minds, which is stopping them from thinking clearly. And I think that's the major problem that I see within all walks of life, within all decisions that we have to make, and all news channels that we receive, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
Let me pay $10 a month, or I pay the entire $139 for the yearly subscription to any AI app. I take your picture, or I take a picture of something on Google, and then I put in a prompt, and I can pretty much tell you an entire story, or have a whole story video edited and ready for you within 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then have it automatically scheduled to be sent out to each and every platform based on the algorithmic patterns that is associated with that particular story and clip. And then once it's uploaded, the consumer in which has already programmed their platforms to see these topics, it's going to pop up on their screen, and then they're going to look at it like, oh shit, Judgment Day, the end of the world is here. But do you even really know what you're looking at? You know, I just seen a ad on YouTube. There's a AI generated app where they can take your likeness and turn it into an entire video. They can prank you. And we just spoke about this not too long ago. They can prank you. They can put you in a situation where your wife would think you cheating on them. Your husband would think you cheating on them because, it looked just like you. And I don't like that. I can't stand that we have gotten so reckless with technology.
Yeah.
Not to say that this is the same thing, but it kind of just make you think, well, you seeing all these videos and clips, they're trying to scare you. Are they trying to scare you, or are they trying to put you up on game?
It's a good question. I mean, I think from, I live in the European Union, right? So as much as we like or don't like what the EU do and have been doing, they do have laws which basically outline the fact that if you go and you copy someone's likeness and you create content about that person, it's actually illegal using that particular likeness, right? But on the other side of things, you've got people being used for feature films that are not even actors. So they found a guy that's actually, I believe he's a waiter, and they paid the guy $1 million. They said, here's $1 million. We're going to use your likeness so you can be in some movies, I think, or maybe just one. I'm not sure exactly. But basically, this is where we're at right now. And in fact, I'm quite excited about it. I'm excited about the future. But as far as these vaccines are concerned, I mean, look, I'm going to pull up what I found here on Google Gemini. I did a little bit of research prior to jumping on here, and Gemini basically said that you can create a prescription vaccine tailored to a specific farm in under 4 months. mRNA is moving into the oncology space, which means clinical trials at schools like Tufts are using mRNA to train dogs' immune systems to kill their own tumors, right? Which is, like I said, yeah, you know, and obviously we've got legislation which have failed, and this is a big debate right now. I think that is the most important thing to be sort of thinking about, is the lack of labeling information. And this is something that I'm big on anyway. I think we've got major labeling problems anyway with most foods. And you know, for example, you know, you go to a store, you should know exactly what's in that. You should know, you know, everything about it, really, right? As far as I'm concerned. In the UK, people are eating meat that has basically been killed under Muslim law, right? And so there's a big hoo-ha about that over there. So we've got all sorts of issues that basically people are either running away from, or they are burying their, you know, they're burying their heads in the sand, or they are kind of creating a massive argument about. And I think this mRNA thing is tied to the vaccines, but it's tied to the triggering and the way that people actually think about COVID and all these sorts of things, to be honest.
We don't do enough investigating, enough personal investigating. We move too collectively to pretty much say yes to things that we really don't know nothing about. Like that, what's it called? The hive mindset. So you got one person who was vouching for it, they got a blue check, or you know, they're a red carpet guru or something like that. You hear them about it, and then you just automatically go with it. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. I've heard there's other countries out here that they don't really put too much of anything in their stuff. They still have some of the most natural fries, potatoes, et cetera, et cetera. You're not eating a whole lot of toxins and stuff that's been sprayed on. Why is that? Because a part of me is like, well, I thought the argument was what we are trying to do is, what's the word I'm looking for? Protect your crops, develop a opportunity to multiply without having this cost effective situation where it's costing me more to try to produce something that is organic when I can just kind of duplicate it genetically. But if that was the case, then why is there so many other locations where they say, well, your McDonald's is nothing like our McDonald's. Your nuggets are nothing like ours. So what is it that they're doing that's working for them that we're not doing, to the point to where you have to start in putting things in it? Is it for our good? Is it supposed to benefit us? I'm not understanding.
Well, I think it's going to prevent, from what I gather, I think it's going to prevent more animals from dying, right? I mean, I think that's the big one, is that it assists animals in protecting themselves, right? But I think other countries, right, are just so knowledgeable. Like it's Italy, right? When they talk about messing with food in Italy, the Italians go crazy. Like they literally will, they'll take to the streets and go and become like, you know, really like go mob handed and just be like, you're not doing this to us kind of thing. And I think maybe a lot of countries have just sort of accepted where they are. They've accepted the sort of quality that they've got. Um, the major issue is if you don't use these mRNA vaccines to prevent animals from getting sick, is actually the costs will rise, and you won't run out of meat, but it will mean that it spreads more. So obviously meat will become more and more and more expensive, right? But I was talking about, you know, not lab grown meat, but I was actually talking about vegetarian and vegan options yesterday. And here in Croatia, you go to the supermarket, meat is cheaper than the vegan vegetarian options in the freezer, which blows my mind. I don't understand how something that doesn't have meat in it is more expensive than meat. I don't understand it. It should be cheaper, right? It should be cheaper because there's no animal involved when you're creating that product. So that sort of blows my mind. And I think all these things need investigating. You need to investigate, you know, what are you going to eat? How do you function on certain foods? And you need to really dig into that. But as far as this is concerned, it's the first, you know, you just said it. You've seen lots of videos like this, as have I, right? But it's like, where do we sort of draw the line as to natural selection? I mean, there is that side of the coin to sort of talk about. But I suppose if these diseases are wiping out entire flocks of animals, you've got to do something about it. There is no sort of option really. And the mRNA, like I said, is good because they can adapt very quickly and they can create these drugs very quickly to prevent sickness of animals, and obviously it will, you know, humans as well, right?
Hey, I'm all for protecting the crops, the animals. I have no problem with that. I have a issue with human nature. If it was you that was in charge of all this stuff, I could sleep well. Because I know your intentions are pure, but everybody not like you or me or the next person. There are folks out here that have just some of the most demonic plans for people, and we can't really ignore it. As much as we want to, as much as people would like to just pretend like this stuff don't exist, it does. And I think that is one of the reasons why this has been romanticized so negatively, because you keep seeing nothing but, oh, they're doing this to us and they're doing that to us. Doom scroll, doom scroll, doom scroll. Well, have you been, or have you gotten sick? Did you take that chicken nugget to a laboratory and have it examined? Did you put it under a microscope and see for yourself? More than 2 weeks ago, I did a video. 15 restaurants that you should not eat from. Guess what they all had in common?
Yeah.
They put things in it that would make you crap your pants. Scare tactic, or is it the truth? I mean, fast food isn't really healthy for you anyway. No. But for them to even suggest and show you these clips in these these facilities where they got gooey substances coming off the conveyor belt. It looked like pink, whatever, just like, and that's what is making your French fries and your potato chips. And you show me, yeah, people are going to freak out about that. But to go back to what you said, I think one of the reasons why they overcharge for the vegan lifestyle is because they don't want you to stop consuming what's bad for you. But you're being greedy too at that. I thought you want people to be healthy. Maybe you don't. Maybe you want people to be sick and die.
Well,
High cholesterol. There's more than one way to kill off a population. You don't have to just give someone the electric chair. You can poison the air. You can put something in the drinking water. You can use suggestive music. It come in different ways.
that's just part of a massive conversation. It's part of like, it's an extreme conversation, that one, of, you know, drug companies, lobbying. I mean, look, God only knows what's actually going on behind closed doors with this sort of stuff. We really do not know what's actually happening. But I mean, the high cholesterol thing, I actually don't know enough about it to talk about it, if I'm perfectly honest. I really don't know enough about it. I don't know enough about all, you know, many of these topics to have a really good, sensible conversation with, you know, data driven insights. I don't really know enough about it, to be honest. You know, I mean, you always hear stories, don't you, of people who have kind of eaten like fried chicken like every day of their life, and they live till they're like 95, right? Or fried bacon and sausages and eggs every day for, you know, 50 years. And actually, they're perfectly healthy. They live till they're 95. Question is, would they live till they're 110 if you gave them some other food, right? And then, you know, it's bizarre, really, if I'm honest. Bizarre, the whole thing.
Yeah, it is. It is. But that's why we do this stuff. That's why I enjoy doing it. It's not to create a scare tactic or any of that. This is just to say, hey, look, did you see that today? What do you think? You care to share with the class? Maybe enlighten us. Maybe you know something that I don't. But let's make this more of a serious discussion instead of being all over the place about celebrity gossip, et cetera, et cetera. We got some stuff that we should really be worried about. I knew I was supposed to eat healthier when I was younger. It didn't stop me from eating a whole bunch of junk food, though. We were always told to go to the doctor, this, that, and the third. But if nobody was really staying on you about it, did you really care what was in the food?
Not really. But you don't notice. That's the point. When you're younger, you don't really notice how bad you actually feel. But I tell you what, I have not eaten a Big Mac for about 6 years. And I tell you why. I was talking to this guy. He's called the Kidney Doctor, the Kidney Doc, and he's actually based over there in over across the pond. And he helps people understand what to eat when, and he looks after them when they've basically got really serious kidney problems. And he was like, you know what, you would never eat a Big Mac again if you understood what it was going to do to you. And he basically, it was really funny. I'd actually eaten one that very morning when I interviewed the guy, and he said, look, you just do not want to eat that. It's really bad for you. And basically, I haven't eaten one since. And it was just super weird. Like that. And it was, what it was actually the memory of eating a Big Mac and the times of old when I was having a great time doing certain things. That's what took me back to eating a Big Mac and why I ate one that day. And it was just like, I went back to the memory, because the taste of a Big Mac has not changed. It's not changed, man, for 40 years, probably longer. And it was just odd. It was just odd, right? But it's like, I thought I'll try one of these. I'll try one of these vegetarian, vegan Burger Kings. I tried one yesterday for the first time. And to be honest, I wasn't. It wasn't that amazing. Like it was. It was just a bit. There was just nothing there, really. To be honest, I think I probably would have preferred to have a beef burger. To tell you the honest truth, and yeah, what can I say? You don't know what goes into the beef. You don't know where it comes from. This is the whole point. When you eat something, you should know, like when you go to a restaurant, you should know that that meat comes from that farm and actually it doesn't have an mRNA vaccine, or when it did have one was maybe 5 years ago and it's left the animals not DNA, because it doesn't affect the DNA, but it's left the animal completely, so that you're not eating mRNA. What you're eating is you're eating beef that at one point was vaccinated with mRNA, because then it protected it and the rest of the herd from dying because of some sickness, right?
Where are all these cows coming from?
Which ones, man?
I know, right? Because I mean, they don't seem to ever run out. It's like, I know damn well if there are certain animals that are extinct or they're on the brink of extinction, only, for the purpose of becoming your shoes or your purse. Cows are probably one of the most consumed animals on the planet. And they still seem to be in rotation. So it's like, how are you manufacturing that quick?
Well, they're very good at it. I mean, it's a science, right? It's the same as test tube babies. Yeah, you're creating these cows in a test tube. You know, artificial insemination, all sorts of things, right? And it's the way it is. Yeah, it's, you can't tell me that a bull gets to go and have sex with like 500 cows, right? Come on. Yeah. It's a bizarre world we live in, to be honest.
Yeah. I just want to eat healthier. I don't want to be putting concrete in my bloodstream and it's labeled as cottage cheese or it's supposed to be collard greens or whatever. I don't want to be eating paste and it's really something else. Like, come on, man.
Mm-hmm.
And one woman, she said it to me in a post about the ground beef. There are some things that you should be looking out for to know the difference between this and that, because they're not being forthcoming about what's actually in some of this stuff. The way that you can tell between something that has been altered and is natural is the labeling. And you said it earlier. Look for packages that has grass fed on it. If it don't have grass fed labeled on it, you don't want it. Because oftentimes the other stuff, it has something along the lines of cell grown or cellular. I can't remember the wording for it, but it sells something. Don't touch that. You can, but unless you don't want that. You don't want that. So I mean, I guess it's up to the consumer. Y'all decide if this is good for you or this isn't.
Yeah.
But don't
But
let
then you,
everything.
sorry, what's that?
Don't let everything that you see posted just dictate the way that your life is going to be ran. That's all I want to say.
Yeah, well, absolutely. But you know, the difficulty is that eating well comes at a price, right? Most certainly. Like I did say earlier, you know, on this conversation, you can eat well if you don't have a huge budget. You still can, but it's harder, right? It's more difficult. But I think knowing what goes into the food that you're eating is great, right? There is so much information out there. If you want to research menus, recipe ideas, you know, but I do think that a lot of salt is in a lot of these things, and eating too much salt can be really, really bad for you, most certainly for your kidneys. And, you know, we all know a lot of people kind of got kidney disease. I've got a friend, he's got kidney disease. And it's, you know, it's very worrying, right? It's really very worrying. But I think all of it is related to, you know, lifestyle. You got to take your exercise, you got to eat well, you got to drink water, not too much alcohol. You know, all these things are tied together. It's not, you don't just wake up one morning and go, well, I'm healthy now because I'm eating a grass-fed steak, right? Like, you know, it's something you got to work at all the time. But I don't know whether I'm against genetically modified food. I actually don't know about it. I don't know enough about it. I think there's actually a very big scaremongering tactic around that. I do know that, you know, there are a lot of farmers in India who've been paying for grain or you know, foods to grow, but actually that is not designed to give you the seeds so you grow it. It's designed to produce food. So, you know, a few years ago there was a big drought in India. The farmers were out of business, and there were a lot of suicides, right? Because they couldn't afford to pay for the grains to plant them so then they could grow. So, like the whole food supply chain, you know, we've got big issues right now with food. Food is certainly going to be going up. When the price of diesel goes up, everything else goes up, right? So I'm hoping for these wars to kind of end as soon as possible, really. But, you know, just need to think more carefully about what you eat. Maybe don't buy 2 packs of potato chips. Don't buy, you know, buy one, right? Or if you want to have more protein, don't eat, you know, certain types of food, eat something else. So I think people just need to be a bit more aware of everything, aware of the diet, aware of the knowledge that they are, you know, putting into their brains. There's just so much information that people are sort of missing out on, in my personal opinion, through lack of caring. I think personally is my opinion.
I can see that. I mean, overall, your health should be your number one priority at this point. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, not even just with what you're putting in your stomach, but what you're watching, what you're listening to, all across the board. It would have been interesting though. One day, hopefully, that would be dope to actually sit with someone who can shed more light on this particular subject in general. Just because what you want to do is you want to have a space for all possibilities, all options. You don't want to automatically dismiss something definitively until you know. That's why I never was a quick to judge type of a person, because you can make yourself look foolish in so many ways doing that. But yeah, fear mongering. That needs to be another subject. I might have to jot that one down. The fear mongering.
It's a very important topic. It's a very important topic, because the level of high quality manipulative content has improved dramatically, and that goes for emails that arrive in your inbox that tell you that you've won X amount of whatever, or maybe you have a book and someone reaches out to you and you think it's a book club, and then they try and charge you and you give them money. Like, scammers are becoming way better with that, and it's a big thing, man. Big conversation.
Yeah, I'm gonna jot that one down. We're gonna have to spin back on that one for sure. Any last words before we get out of here in terms of this that you want to just say to the people? Or
well, I think I actually do. I think you need to before you make your mind up that mRNA and all these vaccines are bad and everything else, I think taking the time to understand how they work and the benefits that they bring for the future once they are tested and they have been rolled out, I think personally, just be very cautious that you don't get too emotional about your opinion, and then just analyze that. Like, why are you emotional about your opinion? What is making you feel that way? And just try and dig into your feelings before you go and influence somebody else. That's the most important thing that I think everybody can do as individuals.
we'll see. This is just a open forum. All thoughts are welcome. All opinions are welcome. This ain't scare tactics or fear factor. We just want to be more aware of what's going on in our world. No. And the more I see these things on my timeline, I just want to address them, just because you're not going to just shove this stuff in our face and it's just going to be forgotten, So do your own homework, figure it out, share your knowledge. Please don't withhold from the public. If you know something that we need to know or might give us some clarity, don't keep that stuff to yourself. That we have enough of that as it is, where people are being selfish and they don't want to share their knowledge. Now, maybe some people will listen, maybe people will ignore it, but at least you put it out there. With that being said, though, we about to get up out of here, though. I appreciate you for being here this morning, sir. Shout out to the people who are watching, who tapped in. Sydney is on later. Tap in. Y'all enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoons, or evening, whatever time it is. And we are out.
Thank you.
Mantra, slave song, slave ship, rip skin, made me rip bones. But no matter how close I hide, my ancestors